What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing the season series finale of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season 4, Episode 8. And it's called Chapter 36, At the Mountains of Madness.
Ooh, we made it to the end.
The end.
The end. Don't forget, stick around for our ending of the podcast because we're going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments of the episode if we had any. No shade, all shade. Our MVPs, our LVPs. So be sure to stick around for the end of the podcast for that.
As always, you are continuing listeners and our brand new ones. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and then to move over to Riverdale Podcast because this one is all
done. We are done, though. By the way, guys, stick around for the end because we're also going to go through some of your guys' thoughts and comments on the series finale because we wanted to discuss that as well. So stick around for the end of the podcast because we're going to go through your guys' comments. But let's do this because I know you want to do this. And
I want to do this. I want to get it. I want to
get it over with.
Out of my body.
Yeah.
I want to leave this chapter, close it, and
Okay, out of a 10 being like amazing series finale, what would you rate this as?
Without being too harsh, I think I'd give this like a 4.5.
Oh, okay.
4.5. It still failed for me, but at the same time, it there were some decent moments. I understood what they were trying to do. Here's the thing before I ask you how you rated it, the thing that frustrated me the most was I wasn't sure if they knew if they got canceled at this point in time. So it's hard for me to feel like I can judge them super harshly knowing that.
So let's just go off of saying that they didn't know because it was announced that they got canceled in July and they must have been done this from time. So let's just go off the fact that they probably didn't know.
Right.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then yes, so many questions unanswered. It didn't feel like it was supposed to end the way that it ended, and this is the final chapter for everything. So I just am really disappointed. And in that case, then it's like, that's probably why I give it the higher score because they didn't really have a chance to tell that final part of the story. But I
love that 4.5 is a higher score. It's like
that is
failing, dude.
What do you give it?
You know what? I'm thinking a 5 or a 6 because I think, like you said, I think there were some great moments within the episode, and I think it started off really strong. Even just me, I was excited for what was starting to happen. But then towards the end, they completely lost me. And then right at the end, when I finished, I was like, wait a minute. I started thinking about all these different things that could have happened. And should have happened if the story was consistent and everything kind of made sense. And then I was like, wait a minute, this shit doesn't make sense. I'm not okay with any of this. And then it kept the score kept going lower and lower, as I was sitting on my couch, thinking it over.
It already started off at a 7. So.
Yeah. And we went through a bunch of reviews and recaps from other sources, and it seems like everyone not everyone obviously, but most of what I read, everyone has the same consensus in terms of what the fuck happened. And a lot of questions, a lot of fans had questions. And this is the thing that we've always said, when you have a fan base that is smart, that they do ask these questions, that they do want these answers, because that's what you're creating. You're creating a smart audience because your show is smart. But now you're leaving them and they're like, wait, this doesn't make sense. There's so many plot holes and things that should have happened that didn't. And it just leaves us being like, who the fuck wrote this? This is
we ain't stupid, y'all. We ain't stupid.
Okay. Anyways, let's start the recap.
Let's get into the episode. Yeah, for sure. So it starts with the meanwhile. So we get that that title card again. Meanwhile, ... So from last episode, this was when it was.
But it's not meanwhile. It's not meanwhile. It's after.
It isn't really. I mean, it is, I guess, because no, you're actually absolutely right.
No, because then Sabrina comes out of the mirror, so she's back. Right. So it's not meanwhile. It's after the to be continued.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's actually way after because
meanwhile to me means it's parallel. They're two stories happening at the same time.
They're happening at the same time.
Yeah.
No, it's true. You're right. They done fucked up the timeline.
See? They couldn't even get the title card right.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because you asked during the last podcast, where are they in the timeline?
Yeah.
And then obviously just now you mentioned that there was something wonky with the timeline, and even my cousins just this morning asked me like, where, like they keep throwing these like, meanwhile 2 weeks later, a week before, like you really don't really know what is happening and when it's happening. So it's like, is it relevant, is it important information? I thought it was. It's like 2 weeks difference. Like, why are you guys breaking it up like that? Why not just make it literally just move the dates? It's your show. You can change the dates and again, to make it literally meanwhile.
You're creating a title card. You're creating the timeline by including that title card. So now make it make sense. Like you're making us read the title card, so it has to all fit. It's
like, just, unless you're telling me that like Sabrina has been running for 2 weeks straight in that mirror, and that's why she like collapses and dies, which we'll talk about in a second.
It still wouldn't mean meanwhile, because meanwhile would mean that episode 7 and 8 are happening at the same time.
That's exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. So it says, meanwhile, it starts with Wardwell congregating a group of people, and she opens up this book and she calls it the Eldritch Gospel, and she's like speaking to these people. I'm going to get to this storyline because this was a waste of my life.
Yeah, let's just talk about that real quick.
Sure, let's talk about
this whole motif of Wardwell, like the real Wardwell,
telling
the story of this whole episode. I'm like, but why? Like, this is so stupid. Like, why do we keep coming back to her?
Yeah, like she had no purpose in the entire season, and then she becomes a disciple of Blackwood just so she can like write this, like, you know, speak the truth, like the truth to a group of people who we don't even know or care about. Like, I don't understand the motif or the reason as to why.
It would have been really cool if, like, at the end they panned out and the crowd was like a crowd that like we actually cared about, or like young students at like the Coven, something cool where like you could see in the end like who she was actually talking to. There is no like twist. There's nothing like that, guys.
And it's honestly, I would have rather
talking to people like.
Yeah, I would have rather had Lilith, who is also Michelle Gomez, reading this book instead. You know, like she's the one that's telling the people of hell, like, this is what happened to Sabrina. For sure. Because that makes sense to me, because it has a connection to Sabrina Morningstar. It talks about her and Sabrina. And instead, it's like Wardwell is like telling the story. Is she angry about Sabrina? Does she hate her? Like, why is she even in this like gospel? Like, what's her purpose in it? Like, I don't understand. Anyway. It keeps cutting in and out, and I'll mention them when we cut out, and we'll all get angry about it every single time it just comes up. So it cuts to 2 days before Halloween, and everyone's at Harvey's house. They're watching a movie, but they're not really watching a movie. They're all making out in corners. I don't know about you, but I don't hang out with all my friends.
I was just thinking that. I was like, even in our drunkest moments, even in our drunkest nights, we have not done this. Like,
no, this is not a thing. But anyway, whatever. All three couples are making out on the couch in the living room. And we find out that it's 2 days away, obviously, from Halloween, as well as Sabrina's 17th birthday.
So I did love this. I love how it kind of all came full circle, and that we are back on Halloween from the first episode. I did like that.
Yeah, I did like that too. But also, to your point, you know, I know you mentioned this question earlier, where it's like, where are they in time? Like, are they graduating school?
So it's only been 1 year?
Yeah, it's been
oh my god, are you serious? Year. The whole series took place over 1 year? Oh my god. I just realized that. Whack. That's insane.
And like, you're telling me that she started from like living her best life at 16 and dying at 17. Like, girl, come on.
She only survived 1 year.
That is rough. Wow. That is a rough day.
That's true.
Anyway, so yeah, they want to plan something for Sabrina's birthday, but she's like, honestly, like, no costumes. I don't want anything crazy. Like, let's just keep it low key. But sure, if you guys want to do something for my birthday, I'm down. So on the way home, Nick and Sabrina have a really cute moment, and this is also a throwback to episode 1, where Harvey does the same thing. Like, I'm gonna get you, Sabrina Spellman. Instead, it's Nick doing it for her. So I thought that was really cute. And then they end off at the front of the steps, and he gives her a locket. And he says, here's a picture of me, and here's a picture of you, just in case you forget what you look like. And then, you know, this will be something that, you know, no matter where
he's like, it's like a beacon. I'll always find you. And I'm like, clearly, this is going to come back in this episode.
This is going to come back around. Yeah, 100%. It's so funny that you mentioned that, because I didn't even, like, I should know these things by now, but, like, my partner was the one that mentioned. She's like, of course, that's going to come up later.
Yeah, of course.
Like, so while they're making out in her room, Sabrina from hell, in the other universe, crashes through the mirror, but she's like fully dying. So if you guys don't remember the last episode, she seemed totally fine running through that mirror, jumping through that mirror. So my assumption was that she went from like one part to it and then just jumped through it, and then she's like on the other side. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem like she did not.
It looked like she went for a jog through like spiky branches and trees because her face is like all like scratched and bloody and like her hair's a mess. Yeah. So you're right. It's like we thought, of course, she was running away from like those people in that world, but they weren't like attacking her yet. And she made it to the mirror. She crossed it. So at some point in between that transition is where I guess she got like injured and died, basically, which was very weird and very sudden.
Yeah.
Because you're right, she was fine before that.
Yeah, but I was also wondering, because she's connected to the other planets that the cosmos or the void absorbed, maybe like her soul is also connected to it, but it doesn't make sense because they're the ones that sent her there. So like she wasn't even connected to that in the first place. Yeah, she wasn't
part of that world, yeah.
Yeah, and also Salem, who I was so excited to see in this world. Yeah. He's just like a floppy dead cat literally on the floor as soon as they arrive.
Well, when I was reading one of the reviews, because I was reading the reviews and they were like, oh, and Salem made it through too. And I was like, he did? Like, where was he? Like, I didn't even realize that he made it through. Because like, he doesn't even talk. Like, he's basically like a dead cat like, right away.
He's dead. He's legit a dead cat. So Salem doesn't even survive. And that was confusing to me too, because I'm like, he's an Eldritch Terror. Like, is it that hard to kill an Eldritch Terror? Because he was the Endless, right? And all of the other ones are captured. You'd think that they would have been like, no, Salem's still alive. Like, he'll talk through the rest of the last episode. But
again, so many questions.
So many questions. And also, like, you guys could have added a little bit more humor to this show with having him in there being like, oh, hey, guys, I'm a cat and I can talk. And, you know, having that moment where, like, him and, like, the Salem from this world, like, interact. Like, bring a little bit more fucking fun to this show. It's about magic. Like, guys, chill out. Stop taking you guys so seriously.
Mm-hmm. Like, anyway. Ain't nobody chilling. Ain't nobody chilling. Nobody's chilling.
It was stressful adventures of Sabrina. That's what it should have been called. So as she, in her dying breath, she tells Sabrina that the void is coming, and she's like, I just came here to warn you. And then she dies. And then it is actually kind of a sad moment, even though they've known each other for maybe 2 months. Considering the crazy timelines, it's probably been like 5 minutes, realistically. So she's downstairs and she decides she's going to be the one to embalm her own body downstairs. So she's like cleaning her and she's saying, I'm sorry. She's blaming herself for everything that happened. And Nick is like, it wasn't your fault. And she's like, kind of was, though. Yeah. Like, yeah, it was. So then it cuts to Blackwood in the basement and he feels the void. And he's like, the void is coming. I'm so excited. And sure enough, the question that I assumed was going to happen from the very beginning, he animates his own body, which is sitting on the side. And he's like, we must prepare for the void. And of course, the body animates, grabs the head, and like, away they go.
But why couldn't he do this like 4 episodes ago?
I know. I mean, I guess there was no reason for him to leave. But this is my thing. I'm like, why do these dumbass witches do these things that allow him to get away? Is he not in a cell that is locked? Like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, like I messaged Jalak like right after, and we were both like, "What? Like, Prudence, you should have just fucking killed this guy. Like, what were you doing? Like,
he's useless." And that's the thing. If you don't remember the two episodes before, because we didn't get anything from this world in the last episode, but the 2 episodes before, she was literally grilling the shit out of him, being like, if you don't tell us what's happening, we're gonna kill you. And this and like, and what happened to all of the torture? No torture?
Yeah, like she just ended it right there.
Where you at, Prudence? Yeah. So basically what you're telling me is you were useless in the last 2 episodes because you were trying to get something out of your dad. And then the one time you actually need to be there, you ain't there. What you going to get stuff in the fridge? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So very annoyed about that. Anyway, moving to the Spellman household, Ambrose confirms that the void is coming to swallow them all. AKA the Netflix is canceling the show.
Show's
it's coming. Like, he's announcing to everybody Netflix is canceling the show. And Sabrina's just like, okay, sounds good. She doesn't care. She's like, I just want to be alone with like Sabrina Morningstar for a second to mourn her. And so she goes into the room that has all the terrors kind of just like in their cages. and she tries to figure out which one's going to help her. She's like, which one's going to help? Which one's going to help? I don't know. And she decides to use the imp. So she grabs the imp, but then right before she wishes on it, the salesman from 3 episodes ago, the Netflix executive, comes back around, and he's like, hey, girl, I know you want to continue the show, but I'm canceling it. So give me that imp back. And, it's mine. So she's like, well, do you have anything in your box that can help me? And he says, well, I have this Pandora's box, and it pulls in all the, it sucks shit up. So you can take it this one if you want.
So this is the box that will save the universe magically, and you can have it for free. No, I don't want, okay, this was my issue right here in this moment. I was so intrigued by this guy again, because I was like, okay, he's clearly coming back in the last episode. He's giving her Pandora's mother effing box, okay?
That's serious.
Who is this guy? What does he want? Why is he helping them out? Where did he come from? There's so many questions, and I truly was like, okay, maybe he's gonna come back later and he'll explain who he even is and how he's trying to help them. For her to get Pandora's box, it's major,
huge.
So we don't get any answers. We have nothing after. Nothing.
Yeah. So whatever. She's like, okay, I'll take the Pandora's box if you want me to trade it for the imp. That sounds like a fair enough deal. I don't know. Sure. So she does that, and he disappears, and he says, just by the way, if you use this, you will likely get sucked into the void as well, because because it's a reverse black hole, essentially, when she goes in there.
He's like, you have to be in that universe to use it. You can't be in our universe and use it.
Exactly. So she's like, okay, well, I guess that's what I'm going to do. He leaves. She goes upstairs, and she decides that she is going to go into the void by herself and tells nobody. Nobody. All. So
the moment they said they were all leaving the house to go wherever, I was like, okay, clearly she's going to do something fucked up because she's alone now.
Yeah. So she writes a letter to everybody.
She puts on "Hello Darkness, my old friend," and then she starts writing her love letters to everyone.
She's like, "Goodbye, everybody. Sabrina, I love you. Goodbye, Netflix." She's such an idiot, and that's the thing.
Just call your family.
Just ask for the help so you guys can figure it out together.
Yeah, what have you been doing this entire? I don't know. Anyways, whatever.
Fucking useless. Anyway, so then it goes, she goes into the mirror, and the void looks like an art installation. It literally just says the void, and
it looks like the Met Gala on the inside.
Yeah, basically. Or what I hope.
She just really wanted to go to the Met Gala.
Yeah, basically. So then it cuts to the academy, and there's also an image of the void, but it's the reverse of it. On the wall.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. They don't really explain what it is and how they can see it through the wall, but apparently that's what it is. And they're like, okay, I guess we're gonna have to fight this now. But then Salem rushes in, and he's like,
finally, Salem's useful.
Yeah, he's like, meow. And they realize that Sabrina has gone into the void. They teleport to her room, and they try to pull her back through the mirror, but they can't because she, locked that shit up, and the void has her. They're like, the void has her. We can't pull her back. And Zelda and Hilda are freaking out because they're like, well, even though they have the body, they won't have her soul. So maybe we can do something about that.
Yeah.
So before that happens, it cuts to the void, and she says, little girl, you came here on your own will. And I'm like, girl, you know who she is. Why can't you call her Sabrina? You know that you've been looking for her. You know her name. She asks the void why all the death, what is happening? Why did you do this? Why are you so evil? And the void says, there is no death, no life, only the void. She's very much that character that always comes in.
She sounded like Metatron. That's who I thought it was at first.
It probably is, for all we know. It's
same actor.
Yeah, same actor, same voice actor.
Yeah.
And she's just basically everybody's the void. Assimilate to my world, essentially. And Sabrina's like, you know what, bitch? No. I got a box for you, and it's a present, but it's not a present. It's gonna trap you, and I'm gonna trap you. She explains her entire
her whole
reason
plan.
why she's there.
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, what is wrong with you? You know, you don't just explain everybody's points, and we as the audience already know what you're doing in there. So just like do it. Just go and do the fucking job. So she opens up Pandora's box and she starts like sucking shit in. And while that's happening at home in the basement, they decide that they were going to try to pull her soul back from the void and put it into Sabrina's body, which is still in the morgue downstairs. Mm-hmm. So as she's like holding onto the box, she's like living her best life. She's like, yes, I got it. She's getting sucked in. At home, they're pulling her away. So she starts to feel and hear their voices being like, Sabrina, come back, whatever.
She's like, shut up, leave me alone.
She's like, stop it, I'm not ready yet. It's like when somebody comes to the door when you're in the bathroom. It's like very embarrassing. It's like, hurry up. You know what I mean? So
we need you in here. Come on.
I was not ready. So she gets pulled back by force. So her body is left in the void with Pandora's box.
Really quickly, I'm just going to insert my Buffy part here. Very much like the part where Buffy does die and then they bring her back like the season later. And she was really upset because like she was basically in heaven. And she was like, I was living the good life. And y'all brought me back to this fucking hellhole. That's California. She's like, wow. So it very much reminded me like of that moment.
Very much that.
Yeah. And I almost thought, I was like, is she going to be mad at them? Like, is she going to be pissed? Right. But then she wasn't. So I was like, okay, whatever.
I mean, she was kind of pissed. She was like, bring me back. She's like, I was defeating the void. I wasn't even done yet. Send me back right now. You guys don't understand what you guys just did. And the aunties are like, absolutely not. It was about to kill you. And Ambrose is like, yeah, like you were literally going to die in there if we didn't do anything about it. But I'm like, had you just planned this out together as a family, maybe you guys could have done it right the first time.
I think this episode made me really, really see like the aunties for who they are. And like they are really useless. Like they really do not know what they're doing. Except for Hilda, where like she sometimes provides like emotional support. Like they don't know what they're doing. They kind of just like run with whatever Ambrose is like discovering, which is pretty sad. Like you guys should have a lot more experience
should have your shit together.
And like some sort of knowledge on these things because you've been around for so many years. They just they just kind of blindly like run and I was kind of let down by them a little bit because I was like, I feel like you guys should know more. A little bit more. You guys should
have more solutions and better solutions that like make sense. Yeah. So in that moment, Ambrose is called by Prudence. She's like, something just happened. You need to come back here. So they all zap back to the academy, and the void has now disappeared from the wall. Like it doesn't exist there anymore. And so they assume like they beat it. They're like, sick. We beat this thing. Amazing. Sabrina doesn't really think so though, because she's like, I don't know. I was kind of like in the middle of it until you guys rudely pulled me away from it. And so she's worried that maybe something didn't go right. But she's kind of trying to ignore it, whatever. Then it cuts to, again, another scene of Wardwell talking. And she's like, and they lived happily ever after. Actually, no one does. Especially not Sabrina. And I'm like, what a random fucking thing to say in the middle of a fucking episode.
Because like the people don't care who Sabrina is. Like who is Sabrina to those people? Why would you like it was just ridiculous,
And also like, are you trying to make a joke in the middle of your story? Like it wasn't even funny. Like what kind of fucking joke is that? Like no one gets to live happily. So then it cuts back to the academy and Sabrina and Nick are talking outside on the steps and Nick's like, good job. Like, this is all over thanks to you. And Sabrina's like, no, it's really thanks to Sabrina. I really just like did everything. I'm obviously like in her body. So like, RIP girl, but this is weird. But then it cuts to Lilith, who is watching them from the sidelines and lurking and overhearing the conversation. So she knows what done happened with Sabrina's body and her soul. So then it cuts to Wardwell's place, and there's a knock on the door, and she's visited by Judith, Judas, and Blackwood. And I wrote down, oh my God, why can't anyone hold these kids down? Like, what? Like, this is obviously going to be the very last time I talk about it because the show is over.
Yeah.
But these kids became the most useless characters I've ever seen on a television show in my entire life. And I've watched a lot of television, so it's hard for me to say that.
It's funny because
with so much confidence.
They were useless, but then in the end, they somehow like legit save his entire master plan.
But why? And they weren't even in the Mountains of Madness later. Like, they were fucking useless. That's true. Like,
but
why
don't
did
they
you
put his body together?
I guess they kind of keep him together once, but they don't even show that. And like, he doesn't even talk about them or talk to them. Like, they didn't even need to be there, to be honest.
Yeah.
They could have just left them at the school and been like, oh yeah, Judith and Judas, they couldn't get out. Like, they were like, he just like booked it and ran away.
I feel like they must have been like some network execs, like kids or something.
I literally just thought the exact same thing just now. I was like, because why else would they be
in the show? Like,
why are you guys here? You guys were literally useless, did not do anything on screen that gave any value to your characters. Like, I just super, super disappointed in these two characters and what they did with them. They could have killed them off like 2 seasons ago. So he tells Wardwell while she's like stitching up his neck back to his dead body, that he has to leave, but she needs to spread the good word of the gospel. So like, that's her mission in life. Again, don't care about the storyline. Didn't know why it was relevant. It was so pointless to me that he even needed to talk to her at all. But okay, cool. It's all just to like have her speaking to the group of people at the end. But I'm just like, really, guys? This is where you guys wasted your time?
Yeah.
When there's so many fucking plot holes in the show?
Like,
this is what you want to spend your time on?
But guys, like, why do you have to narrate the episode? Like, we're watching it unfold.
There's no need.
That's so stupid.
The amount of time they fucking spent on these sets and like doing these scenes, like, you guys could have explained a million things more and better.
Yeah.
So then Sabrina wakes up late. And I think it's her birthday this day. She wakes up late and she notices her alarm clock is missing. She like kind of goes to the side. She like presses it. It's like not there. So she's like, that's weird. Then she goes downstairs. Everybody wishes her happy birthday. Hilda's making her pancakes, which I was so excited to see because I was super hungry when I was watching this. And there are no pancakes because she thinks that Vinegar Tom took them. And it's just like a mystery. Like these pancakes go missing. But everybody kind of just brushes it off, like which is weird to me because I'm
very weird.
Ambrose is sitting there, Zelda's sitting there. Everything, I guess they're so high on the fact that they thought that they beat the Eldritch Chair that they're just like, whatever, pancakes, let's just make more. Anyways, so
if I talk to every single point that you mention here, people are gonna like cancel me, so I need to hold my tongue back because there's a lot of things I could say right now about every single moment in this episode that didn't make sense.
Yeah,
but anyways,
it's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
So then it cuts back to hell, and Lilith decides to tell Lucifer that his daughter is dead, but her body is hosting the soul of the other Sabrina, the original Sabrina. I wrote in the notes, low key.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking Sabrina, guys. Get the fuck over it. Like, they're the same person. They were separate for 10 minutes.
Yeah. And now like, you guys are feeling some type of way. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? So everybody's losing their minds. Lucifer's losing his mind. Caliban's losing his mind.
Again, it's some like, secondary story that could have completely been ignored. There was already so much happening in this episode and so much build up for like the other stuff. I truly did not need any of this part. Like, I really didn't.
None of this. It was so pointless. And for them to get that hell bent on, like, no pun intended, on something that is like, it was the same person split into two.
Yeah.
It wasn't even twins. It's not like they were raised from like 0 to 16 and they had 2 separate lives. They were together until like 10 minutes ago.
As you're talking about it, it sounds even more ridiculous.
So whatever. The point of Lilith coming down here is because she wants to kind of make a bargain with Lucifer and say, if I tell you where she is and how to get to her, will you give me my powers back? And he's like, yeah, whatever. Tell me where she is. So she tells him like she's going to have the birthday party at her place. This is where she's going to be and what time she's going to be there. And Caliban is like, we need to fight back. When are you going to like strike down this entire family? They done try to fuck you up all this time. Like, it's time to like wage some war against these motherfuckers. So finally Lucifer is like, okay, time to kill them. Let's do this. And obviously, as they leave, Lilith has this like moment where she looks back at the throne and she's like, "I'm coming for you, boo boo. I'm gonna be sitting on that throne."
Is she though? Is she?
Is she though?
Is that really what she's going for? Because we don't really get to see that at the end.
We don't get to see that. We'll talk about that moment real quick after. So then it cuts to the caves where Harvey's dad is working with all of his buddies, and Caliban and the king, whatever the hell his name is, come by. And
I love that Harvey's dad, by the way, is like completely back to normal after he almost got killed by a slasher rock band last episode. But he's totally normal now and he's like back to work. So good for him.
He's like, "Oh, hey, what weird Halloween costumes you got there?" I'm like, I would have been retired by now. But he releases fully. He releases the Legion on them, and like all you hear is screaming. So you're not exactly sure what that means, what that entails. And then it cuts to home, and everybody is saying happy birthday to her. And this is interesting because this is all we got from the season 4 trailer. If you guys don't remember before this show, before the season got released, like this was what we saw, and I was like, I didn't understand what it meant, but now watching it, I'm like, oh, they literally shot the final episode already. So like, this is it. So before she blows out the candles, the whole cake disappears. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, Sabrina, stop playing jokes. Bring your cake back. Bring your cake back because Hilda did a really good job on it. We want to eat it. And so while they're like talking about it and talking it through, and Sabrina's like, that was not me. They hear a horn outside. And it's Lucifer and his entire army up front. And Sabrina's like, I know what he's here for. Let's just do this shit right now. And he's like, is it true? Like, you tell me the truth right now. Is it true, yes or no, that you stole my daughter's body and you are in her body? And she's like, it is true. But then I'm like, why wasn't anyway, whatever. I can't go back. I can't get back into it because it's going to drive me crazy into a circle. So she's like, yep, it's true. I did write down, I wasn't in love with the fact that he was pissed about the same person, body, soul in the same body. It doesn't make any sense why they were frustrated. You know Sabrina,
and like you know who she is. Do you think she would intentionally kill your version of the daughter and like get rid of her? Like come and be like, guys, what's going on? Like, why did you do this or whatever? I know he's the devil, and I know he probably like he's supposed to react the way he's supposed to react. Yeah. Again, it's just another storyline that like I wasn't like I'm over this. I was like, let's move on to the main storyline. Yeah.
So anyway, she easily submits, which was kind of weird to me too. Like she just like gives up. She's like, okay, I guess that this is it. I'm like, it's my birthday. You wanna take my body? Let's just take my body. So she binds her powers. He forces her to bind her powers. And right before she like kind of like takes her step forward to surrender, Ambrose pulls out his wand to kind of like stop it. And Caliban's like, treason, kill everybody. And so they storm the house and try to attack everybody. And the Legion, which includes Harvey's dad, is like, they look like zombies. There's like shit coming out of their mouths. Like they're just like disgusting and gross. So they start trying to attack her. But as they attack her, she starts to like suck people up from what it seems. Like they literally just disappear out of nowhere. Yeah. So she keeps sucking people up. She even sucks up Caliban. And then at the very end, it was kind of a big moment actually, because I was like, oh shit. Harvey's dad is like the last one of the army to like rush at her. And Harvey's like, wait, Sabrina, don't. And she sucks him up as well. Yeah. And Harvey's like, my dad. What happened to my daddy? And Lucifer's very confused because he's like, you're not supposed to have any powers. Like that spell should have stopped you from having any powers. And he retreats because literally everybody's dead, like including Caliban. He's the only one surviving. So he's like, I guess I lost. So cuts back to hell. Big moment. Lucifer is so pissed that they lost that he takes his shirt off. He's like, you know what? Fuck this. He rips his shirt off. We see the abs. We see the back. And Lilith is like, oh, that sucks that you guys lost. Can I get my powers, please? Like, she doesn't care about anything that's happening because she's so hungry for this throne. And Lucifer is like, girl, I don't care about your fucking powers. I've got bigger problems to worry about. Like, get out of my fucking face. And Lilith is like, okay, cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. Cool, cool, cool. So then he walks away. She grabs that knife and then she stabs him in the shoulder blades where his wings used to be. And as we know from earlier seasons, this is like his weak point. Like, these are the places where if he gets stabbed there, he's like super, super weak.
Yeah.
And also it's like from a special blade, so I'm sure like started to become super weak at that point in time.
Was it the same blade that she uses to kill like the returned guy?
Yes. Yeah, it's the same blade. She like just held on to that shit. And she kind of goes crazy, and then finally she's like, I'm gonna feed on your motherfucking blood, girl. So yeah, so Lilith stabs him in the shoulder blades. His blood's like
black. It's like what is she called? Like blue. Celestial it's like this blood blue, or something?
Yeah, it's a celestial blood. So she feeds on it because she wants to get that power back.
Did you feel like that was too easy to kill him?
I mean, I guess like at that point in time, he was so weak and like he lost his entire army and he was so pissed that I was like, I guess I believe it, maybe.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking, because as you remember 2 episodes ago, like her baby goes into that protective doll or whatever.
Yeah.
We were not really sure what happens there. So my assumption is maybe she got like some protection, so she felt like confident that she could kill him. Like I don't really know. They don't explain it. Instead anyway, they spend time doing other shit. So she's like, yes, this is my power. She's like feeding on his blood. He's like, oh God, he's like dying. Then it cuts back to home and Sabrina's just like completely devastated because she's like, oh fuck, I totally just killed all those people.
Yeah.
And Harvey is like reaming into her. He's like, Sabrina, did you kill my dad? 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 Like he says it like 17 times and like yells in her face, and she's like, I don't know an answer. And so she's
also
stressing
like, why
out.
Can't Roz just like touch her and be like, this is what's gonna happen to you? Like they're gonna come back.
Because the cunning girl, the cunning
it only works
when
it wants to work. Oh, okay.
The cunning is not working today. Okay. It is out on vacation. Okay. It is out of office. It sent you the message.
Oh.
So yeah, completely useless. Everybody's completely useless in this moment. And things start to disappear as she starts to stress out. So like the balloons disappear. This disappears. Like little pieces of furniture start to disappear. So Ambrose is like, clear the room. It's just going to be me and her and Nick. We're all just going to hang out. So she dips. Really quickly before it cuts back to that scene, we see in hell, Lilith is like still standing over his body and is like, that was delicious. I have all my powers back now. Thank you. And she banishes Lucifer. She doesn't kill him because she's like, I would kill you, but that is like too easy. I banish you.
Is it too easy?
Is it though? She banishes him to a life as a mortal, just like he did to her, essentially. The exact same thing. And she's like, you're gonna have to beg for your life, like the fucking loser that you are.
But I don't get it. Like, if you don't kill him, how do you succeed his position? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, he's still out there. He's still like king of hell. He's not dead.
Right. And I don't know. I mean, I guess she just wanted him to suffer through what he did, but like he doesn't have any shame. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like it's different for her because like she did stuff. Like she killed her baby. So like she has to live with that guilt. Whereas what did he do? I mean, he killed a bunch of people too.
I mean, like he's the devil, but care.
Like he's the devil.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if it was the perfect revenge for him. What did you think? Because this is the final time.
Honestly, I think that she should have just killed him off. Like in my opinion, it's like if you want to succeed someone's position, you kill them to take the throne. Like that's how you're supposed to do it. You don't banish the person and ground them in a room and then take the throne. Like no, like that person's dead. But again, I think it's just their way of keeping a character like quote unquote alive, so that in case later on they can bring him back. Which again shows that they can't take any big risks and there's never a really big stake unless it's their main character. So
yeah, exactly. Like, so he doesn't die. What did you think of Lilith's ending? Because this is her ending as well.
Is this the last time we see her after this?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. We don't see her again. Yeah. Like, and again, I think in this moment, I definitely was expecting like a final scene with her to kind of show that she's like walking to the throne and she sits on the throne, and very much like a Game of Thrones throne moment. We get none of that. This is her ending. It was a huge letdown, in my opinion, and a lot of recaps that I read said the exact same thing. They were waiting for that moment to see her finally sit on her throne, and you don't get any of that. Like fucking
recycle the moment from like season 2 when she sits on the throne. I don't care. Like recycle the footage. I don't care. Just do it again. But you're right. You spend the entire series with this character, and I loved her character. Like, she was fierce and evil, and she had her down moments, and you still loved her. And then she gets this up moment, but the up moment doesn't feel it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like she deserved it. She like literally stabbed somebody in the back for it. And then she doesn't get this boss ass bitch moment like I won. She's more like I fucking killed you in your back.
And as we were talking about her like character arc, sort of, I was kind of thinking like how I would have created her character and written it. And I think what I would have changed is how she gets the throne. I think I would have loved to see like him as the devil be like, girl, I respect, like, or like if she did something like major and he's like, I respect you. You're going to be with me. Like go on the throne with me, whatever. Instead, she stabs him in the back. She like basically kills him to take the throne. So what kind of feminist message is that truly giving like any of us? Like, I don't really see that.
There was nothing really that I got from it that I was like, oh, girl, get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we know that they can do it, which is why it was so disappointing seeing it kind of fall so flat.
Yeah.
Even for a finale that you could assume was they were assuming that they were going to get picked up for next season. So the way that they left Lilith it
was incomplete.
It didn't feel like a finale episode.
I was very confused by that because I was like, even if it's still a finale, you would still want like a really sick like ending shot for her. It just felt very unfinished. Put some fucking
music in there and make her seem like a badass.
Yeah, it felt very unfinished.
Anyway, cutting back to home, Ambrose scans the body with his magical powers.
His favorite new tool of the season.
And it turns out that she has nothing inside of her. And he concludes that you are the void. Like, the void is inside of you. And Sabrina freaks out because she's like, well, I'm going to start killing people. I don't know how to control this. I'm going to leave. I'm out of here. And I'm going to go somewhere where no one can find me. Don't try to look for me. And so she disappears. Nick is like, what the fuck? So, of course, another decision that Sabrina makes on her own accord without telling anybody or talking it through with anybody, which ends up fucking everybody else up. So she leaves, and right after that, Ambrose and Nick go upstairs and they're like, well, she left, so we got to go find her now. So they're going to spend the next 2 weeks, which we realize later, that they're going to be looking for her. They're like, how are we going to find her, though? And also they need to find a solution for how to get rid of the void. And Ambrose says, well, I can grab the Pandora's box and we can finish what she started, but the box is like somewhere floating in space. Nick says, well, I done got her a locket in the beginning of this episode, so I can find her using it as like a beacon, but I won't be able to breathe in space. Like, so many confusing
layers to the story that it's like, guys, we don't care. Like, you fucked up Wardwell's story, but you think about how Nick needs air in this second universe. Okay, that's spend your time on that part. Cool.
Yeah, 100%. Like the things that they think about, I'm just like, this is what you wanted to focus on, and how he was gonna breathe. They're like, oh, we're going to enchant the weird, so like that like squid octopus thing, and put it on his face so he can breathe. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was like,
are these writers high right now? Like, what the hell? So anyway, and then they have to go look for her as well. So then it cuts to Wardwell again, talking to the group of people, and she's like, Sabrina brings herself to the Mountains of Madness, which sound familiar to me. Did we get the Mountains of Madness in some point in time?
I feel like it looks familiar.
It feels like hell. Is it hell? Maybe, I don't know.
Isn't that somewhere where she sees Caliban like on the beach or something?
Maybe that's not it. Maybe it's like a ring of hell. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, it sounded familiar. I'm not sure. So she's there by herself, and she sees this person walking up toward her. It turns out that it's Blackwood. Again, Judith and Lilith do not exist ever again. And and he says that I can help you how to control the void. And because she's so desperate, she says yes, because he has all this information. I get it. I understood this part. I was like, okay, fair enough. Like, Blackwood has her kind of in a corner, and she doesn't really know what else to do. But Sabrina is a trickster, and she'll figure out how to trick him back. So it cuts to 2 weeks later. We see like a little title card again, 2 weeks later. So I'm like very confused. So is it November 15th now? Or are we at November 13th right now? Like, what time of the day is it? And does it matter? It does not matter. So it shows the Weird Sisters kind of like rolling up with Ambrose. And they're all hooded, and Blackwood's like bringing firewood into the cave. And he's like, hey guys, the void's inside. You should not kill me because she needs to eat and she might destroy the entire planet. So you better let me go do my
job. Is hangry. You know what I mean?
She hangry. Yeah, I know the feeling, girl. So, so he does ask, like, how did they even find her? And Salem pops out and he's like, meow. And I'm like, first of all, Salem's getting the most screen time.
Like, literally, he put all his work into the last 2 episodes of the entire series. Like, fully.
100%. But I'm like, at the same time, like, it took your familiar, who you are directly attached to 2 fucking weeks
and that's the
to
thing.
Find you.
They even said that. They were like, he's like, how did you find? And then they're like, the familiar. And I'm like, wow, you guys never even used this motherfucking cat up until now.
For anything.
Oh, my God.
Just drives me fucking
Please,
nuts.
let's just get to the end so we could...
Let's get to the end. Let's skip to it.
Yeah.
So he's like, come inside. Let's see what's popping inside. So inside the cave, Sabrina comes out, and this bitch is tired. She is so tired that she's got to use crutches to walk. Yeah. She's completely weak, and she's just like, she looks
she basically
like she
looks
hasn't
like
taken a shower.
She looks like 31-year-old Sabrina. Because normal Sabrina looks like she's 13. She's 31.
She's like one way back. So fun. So he says Sabrina holds some of the void in her body. And he's like, if she does anything or makes the wrong move, the void could suck the entire world. So basically what you're telling me is she's been clenching.
She be clenched.
Fully clenched. She's in a full clench mode for the past 2 fucking weeks. Yeah. Like, just trying to clench the void into her body. Because if she unclenches, the void can attack.
Ooh, so it's gonna be shaky.
The void represents diarrhea. Is what he's trying to say. And so they're all sitting at the table, and the Weird Sisters use their combined power to break into his brain to figure out what his plan is. Like, what is he doing this for? And it turns out that he's looking for the rest of the void, which is trapped in space, and he's trying to connect them all so he can fulfill the prophecy and try to control the void. And so once they figure this out, they want to take Sabrina away. They're like, we got to take you, like, you're coming with us now. And Sabrina says, no, I know what's going on here. Do not take me with you. Don't even try. And of course they try anyway. They try to force her body up using magic. And as she's trying to resist, she pulls Roz into the void. And then she pulls Prudence into the void. So at that point in time, Ambrose and Agatha dip. They're like, I don't want to get sucked into the motherfucking void. Like, I'm out of here. So they leave. And just before they both dip, Sabrina looks to Ambrose and says, I'll see you later, cousin, at the end.
Wink.
At the end of the finale. So then back at home, Ambrose says, we do have to come back at a perfect time. She telepathically told me to come back when the planets are aligned or something. We need to come back at this perfect time. She told me. As soon as he says that to the aunties, Nick comes back from space with Sabrina's body and Pandora, like, and she's clutching Pandora's box, obviously. And he's like frozen to nothing.
Yeah.
Like, he's like super, super cold. Whatever. He survives like living in space for I don't even know how long to find her. And then cuts back to the cave. So this is like the perfect time, whatever. And everybody comes back with the terrors. So it's like Harvey and Theo and Robin, like the entire group is back, and they're all holding the terrors and Pandora's box. And they're like, you know, Blackwood, here's all the shit that you ever wanted. Just give us back Sabrina. Like, we don't need any of this. You can keep all of it. You can control all of it. Here's the void. It's in Pandora's box. And he gets so greedy that he takes the box very quickly. He opens it up and he is blinded by this like gunpowder. So it's basically like a trick box that they tricked him with. And now he's blind. And he's like, what did you do that for? The void is inevitable. It doesn't matter anyway. And then Nick kicks him in the head to knock him out so he can shut the fuck up for the rest of the episode. But my thing was, why not just kill him right then and there? You could have just knocked his head off and it would have flown right off.
Yep.
I was literally waiting for his head to like get kicked so hard.
It wasn't the moment, I guess. They didn't want to give that moment to him in that time.
But it would have been fun.
Yeah.
I would have liked it. I'm like, guys, listen to us. So even though he's knocked out and even though they stopped him, Sabrina still says, you're going to have to still sacrifice me. So then she explains everything that she's been dealing with for the past 2 weeks. And basically she's like, I've been practicing to clench my diarrhea this entire time. So what you need to do is you need to bleed me out. Or what his plan, I guess, was he was going to bleed her out into this like circle, like stone circle thing that will open up the void. And from there, he would be able to retrieve the void or connect the void to her body. Or I don't know what he was trying to do. So she says everyone has to go in and grab everybody else from the void while it's open. And then at the very last minute, once everybody's out, Nick has to use the Pandora's box to close the void. So my question really quickly before we continue, and I don't know why I'm even asking it because logic means nothing. Mm-hmm. She looks to Nick and says, you're going to have to close the void once all that's done. How is this any less dangerous than what she did in the very beginning of the episode trying to kill herself inside of the void?
I guess she realizes like that's the only way to do it. But she's risking him dying too, which they didn't even really discuss.
That's what I mean. Or maybe she's like, because I can control the void a little bit, I can keep it open for you before so it doesn't kill you. Mm-hmm. Anyway, they don't explain it very well. Whatever. She lays on this table, this like sacrificial table, and the aunties have this little quick moment with her, like, don't worry, everything's gonna be okay. And they cut her chest open and she starts to bleed out, but her blood is like white. And I guess that's what the void is. So it bleeds out all over this table. Such a bad use of blood, like such a poor use of somebody's blood being drained from a table all the way down the floor through these little pipes all the way down. It was like a fucking like maze to get to the actual hole. Mm-hmm. And so it opens out and a lot happens. So really quickly, Zelda tells Hecate, she prays to Hecate to try to help her through this moment, this hard moment where like she's like basically gonna die. And I wrote down, well, maybe if they move the fucking table like a little bit closer or just put it right beside the door, she wouldn't have to fucking bleed out all over the goddamn table. Like I know that it was visually stunning. Don't get me wrong. And I know that this is what they were intending to do for the scene. But when you start to put things like this together, you cannot allow your audience to ask so many questions when the stakes are as high as death. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like when the stakes are as high as death, do not expect your audience to just sit there and be like, oh, okay, so she just bled out on a table with a bunch, like her entire coven watching her die. And no one thought to, I know you mentioned yesterday to me, like nobody decided to like bring another
bag of blood.
Bag of blood.
No one thought to like filter blood as the blood was dripping. Like you guys are all like, fucking witches.
Stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
Like if I pop off, I'm gonna pop off. So like,
You're like trying to hold it in. You're clenching.
Yeah, I'm clenching right now.
So as she's bleeding out, the Banshee, who we saw a couple seasons ago, appears. She's an omen of death, and she's waiting. And Hilda like sees her in the corner, and she starts crying. And
at this point, Hilda mostly, do you not think that maybe you should ring up your voodoo boyfriend and maybe bring him over because he might be able to help in the situation? No,
like holla.
You're not gonna do anything. You're just gonna stand there and cry. Okay.
No. Okay. Cool. Got it. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. Great. So she has this final moment, Sabrina, where it kind of closes in on her, and she's having these memories of her life. She says goodbye to Greendale. She says goodbye to Harvey. She says goodbye to Nick. And
so in this moment, do you believe that she's going to die?
Yes. At this point in time, I was like, she's gonna die.
Oh, really?
Like they're killing off the character. And you know what? It's one of the things where it's funny because I kind of, as much as I didn't like the fact that she died, I was kind of wishing for it the entire season, being like, this was all her fault. Like she did fuck this up. She is to blame for everything that went wrong. So sacrificing her as a character makes sense, and especially in the finale. The problem that I had with it is everything that happens after, which I'd like to talk about when we get
to and just really quickly, I think I 100% agree with you. I think killing a main character temporarily, maybe for a finale, is fine. That's okay. Like, do that. Yeah. But everything else that happened while she's dying didn't make sense to me, and that's the part I have a hard time with.
Yeah. So while she's dying, she has these memory flashbacks. I thought it was kind of sweet. It was probably one of the sweetest parts about it because it was as if
I was crying. No, I was crying a lot. So,
like, she is the she is the representative of the show, being like, goodbye everybody, like goodbye Netflix for watching the show. Thank you for.
There is no next episode in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm dead.
Yeah. This is what they recommend you to watch the next show.
Hashtag
watch Riverdale now. Hashtag Riverdale. So yeah, she says goodbye everyone, goodbye show. Everybody gets out in time. Everybody gets pulled back. Everybody's happy. Nick closes the gate and they're super happy. Nick is like, yes, like Sabrina, we did it. And it's too late. Sabrina's dead. And no one, again, is trying to fix this bitch up. Like, there is nobody out here trying to figure her out. And I wrote down why. Why couldn't she be fixed? And we should talk about this because the next scene is the burial of the two Sabrinas.
So I guess, do you want to talk about it right here, or?
We can talk about it at the very end if you want to.
Yeah. Let's do that.
So at home, they bury the two Sabrinas. She says goodbye to Sabrina, Nina, Bonina Brown, Spellman. Like, she has this like long fucking name. And I was like, goodbye. And she's like, this show has been canceled. I appreciate everybody.
Thanks for coming. Your last paycheck. Peace out.
Yeah. Make sure you leave your costumes at HR. So back at school, the academy, there is this brand new statue of Sabrina standing all sassy in like a little skirt and like just looking fucking crazy. What the fuck am I watching? I don't know what the fuck. Like, they went off the rails. Like, the fact that they literally made a gold fucking statue, replaced it with
pose.
The fucking
it's the pose that Kieran had in the statue.
She's like, hey girls, hey ladies. Like, I couldn't stop laughing, and I literally looked at my partner and I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? They made a gold statue of her like looking super sassy, and that was how they wanted to. Like, I don't fucking get it. I don't get it.
So when all the little witches come, they're gonna be like, I'm gonna be as sassy as her.
I'm gonna pose just like this. I just died. I was like, this is not it, sis. I cannot do this. And then on top of that, Hecate, just because she like done fucked up one thing, her statue is like pushed to the side.
Gone. Goodbye.
In the darkness.
Who are you? She's like the Kelly like the now of like the Beyonce group.
Yeah. 100%. So there is a quick sad moment where, Hilda looks to Zelda as they're looking at the statue. saying that she's gonna move back into the house with Cerberus, and she's like, Spellman's got to stick together, and Zelda's like, sounds good, and Zelda's like, it's not right, Hilda, what they did. Why did they cancel our show? I don't get it. We should protest. Like, we should talk about this to people and try to get them to reboot the show. And then they just leave. So that's kind of how things end. And then there's a final scene that we get of Blackwood in the basement for the millionth time.
Yep. I feel like he's been down here in his room, basically
25 times. Yep. Back at his room. And Prudence is like, okay, now it's over. Now that the show's gotten canceled.
She's like, now that I'm in the series mother effing finale, I have a final thought of how to get rid of your evil body.
Yeah. So she decides that she's going to cut up his body and scatter his body parts all across the fucking world.
I was pretty upset that like they spent this time of her character going to kill her dad instead of like having a final moment with Ambrose and being like, I'm in love with you still. Like, can we be together? Which I would have preferred 100 times over. Because like I was saying last podcast, the fact that her storyline is always linking back to the revenge of her father, like, let's get over it, guys. Let's move on. Let her be happy. Like, let her find love.
She's more
like,
than that.
She's way more than that. And these guys just, I'm sorry, like they just suck at writing characters, I think, in my opinion.
They didn't do it right at all. There was like no character development whatsoever for Prudence, who's not only a fantastic actress, like had so much potential as a really interesting character. They like and took her nowhere.
Even if they didn't know the show was gonna get canceled, even still, you're making a finale. Like the finale should be about like the final part of her journey and like maybe recognizing, hey, I'm done with my dad. I want to find my own path and I want to find love and like whatever it is. Like that should have still been a part of the finale.
Give her a sentence.
They couldn't do that.
Nothing. I was so disappointed in this ending for Prudence. I was like, okay, so your entire life just kind of like amounted to this moment. Yeah. Good job. Mm-hmm. Which is something that you probably should have done like 4 seasons ago.
Or like last season even. Or the beginning of this one. Last season. Like
or halfway through even.
Last week.
Literally 2 weeks ago. Oh man. So then we get the final scene. And it is Sabrina in
it's like the same set as The Void because they had to reuse the set because they ran out of money, obviously.
They ran out of money. So... They had already taken down all the sets. They were like, guys, we got to shoot this real quick. Like, we have 30 minutes before Riverdale kicks us out. We got to go. So
one of the reviews I read was like they used like some basic bitch Pinterest gold font for like the suite thereafter.
It's so true. It's like what you see on like invites, like basic bitch invites. So it says the suite hereafter. She's standing in front of it, and she's reading a book on a bench. And I wrote down, don't all witches go to hell? Mm-hmm. Like, isn't that like that's something that we learned as like a staple in the first season, that all witches go to hell, even if they're good or bad. Like that's just like their resting place, as far as I remember. Yeah. Unless you guys think I'm wrong. And also, like, if this is her heaven, like, sitting on a fucking, like, bench reading a book does not sound terribly, like, amazing as a heaven.
I think
like,
there were so many other parts of the episode that I was questioning that this part truly was, like, all right, the best part. I guess we're going with this, guys.
I'll take it. Like, she's not even with her mom. Like, you don't see her with, like, hanging out with, like, all the people that have already died. Like, they could have easily brought, like, Dorcas and like all the other people that we've lost along the way. So nice. But then again, she would be alone again because the show has 0 stakes and everybody stays alive all the time. So like literally no one is dead. So
as she's trying to chill finally in like her peaceful heaven room, she gets a knock at the door.
There's no door. He just rolls right in. He's like, hey, girl.
And she's like, wait, what? Nick. And he's like,
and she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, yeah, I was so depressed that I drowned myself in the sea of sorrows. And I wrote down, what the fuck, Romeo, chill. Like, this is not Romeo and Juliet. You don't kill yourself for your fucking girlfriend.
Maybe because we're older than like the demo. I don't know. I just didn't find it romantic at all. I found it super, it was not super like dramatic and like didn't need to happen and very like desperate. Like, chill. Like, go live your life.
Yes.
We're probably not even soulmates. We're still 16 years old. Like, I might find a next man. And why are you killing yourself for me?
None of it made sense. And I was upset about it because you know what I was kind of hoping for? I was hoping for her to be sitting on that bench and him coming back and being like, Sabrina, it's been 7,500 years. I'm dead now. Like, I died. I lived my entire life. I died. And like, now I'm finally with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead, he's like, no, I killed myself. And now I'm here with you.
I think after, of course, reading reviews and talking about it with you and like thinking about it, first of all, the meaning behind that is very, in my opinion, it's very dangerous. The fact that you guys are so kind of romanticizing this idea of like suicide and killing yourself. But also, you guys preach about being feminist and writing these like feminist stories for these characters. Her ending, or if this is her ending, whatever, should not be about her lover and her boyfriend for like a minute. Like, it should be about her ending, her finding peace in this moment, her finding peace wherever she is with like the person that she is. Like, that should be a more empowering ending to this character, not the fact that her boyfriend just killed himself to come and live with her forever. Like, I don't know. It didn't sit right with me. I was like, man.
No, and it didn't, like, and that's the thing. I remember as soon as they do the zoom out and that's the end, they say like, we're together here forever and ever, and that's all that matters. And I'm like, so I feel like I'm just where they are. I feel like they're in limbo and they're waiting for an actual good ending, just like we are. Like, that is
and like
how the show
he was like, he just wanted to be Endgame because he said it like 8 episodes ago. So
right,
yeah,
like trash ending. I was very disappointed. I tried my best to really enjoy it, but you can't help but walk away from this after 4 seasons of 1 hour long fucking episodes and reviewing every single episode in as much detail as we have and not feel some type of way about how
I think you're right. I think they should have had her mom there. That would have been such a beautiful
moment. Give me anything.
That would have been such a beautiful moment. I would have loved that because it's like she found her peace and like she found something finally that she couldn't get in the other world. Like, she would never have seen her mom oh my God, like, it would have been so beautiful. I would have started crying again.
100%.
I can't. I'm done. Like, I'm done with shitty writing. Like,
I'm done.
Done.
We cannot take on another show that has this kind of shitty writing because it will be the end.
And the saddest part is like these characters are so beautiful and they're played by these beautiful actors who like have the potential to like push the story and like have a beautiful character arc, but you guys just can't take them there. For some reason, you fill up these episodes with these crazy like missions and like stories and it's like we don't even like it's fun and all, but we don't need that much of it. Like, anyways,
and it's like we were saying the last 2 episodes. Last episode you gave us one of the best episodes of the entire series. The episode before that you literally made me cry without even me expecting to cry at all, like during that Prudence and Agatha moment. And you guys have the chops. You guys can do it. But instead you end up with this show that is an hour long that still is just as confusing as to when you began the show.
And missing parts.
I'm still confused.
There's so many things they could have done with character development in this episode and they didn't do any of it. They just had to push the plot, which I get because you guys have set up this ridiculous fucking Eldritch Terror shit that should have maybe been done in episode 8 or 7 and then you could have had like a nice finale ending in episode in this one. So I don't know,
man. They really fucked up this last episode.
I got a lot of questions for you. I have a lot of questions for our listeners.
So really quickly before we go into our roundups and talk about everything, and I guess we're gonna have to talk about what other people said to us as well. But the first question that I have for you is, do you think that they're gonna reboot this show? Or will we at least get an epilogue episode where it's like one episode? You know how some shows do that where they have like that last episode after the episode?
I don't think so.
It hurts to know that that's probably,
you know what,
not
it
gonna
hurts,
be the
but at the same
case,
time it doesn't, because knowing how they butchered this ending, I can't say that they would come back and make a better show. Like, so I have no faith in them. Even if they got picked up by HBO Max to like create a new season, like, are they gonna still do it right? I don't think they will. So
no. Yeah.
You know?
And on top of that, I wrote down a little frustrated after all that the Eldritch Terrors as a collective were as useless as they came.
Completely.
They came and they went and they were useless, but they were these super powerful things. They had every single one of them captivated and none of them could help her.
Yeah.
Out of all of them. So stupid.
I have a couple of questions. I'm just going to go through them. How did Sabrina die coming through the mirror? And then she was fine. We talked about that one. Is anyone going to explain who the fuck this guy is that keeps selling these trinkets around town for free? I truly wanted the answer to that, and we never got any of that.
It's the Netflix executive who canceled the show.
I said, why the F did Prudence not kill Blackwood up until this moment? Her revenge journey felt absolutely pointless because he still survived and then did all of this shit still. And then she chainsaws him. So it just it felt so useless to me. Why wouldn't Zelda call on Mambo Marie, Voodoo Death Guy, when he told her, call me maybe when you need me?
Like, he literally said it.
He literally told her, he's like, shake this thing. He's like, I will come and help you, girl. Like, we were together. Like, are you telling me they sat there and watched their niece die and nobody said, let's call the death voodoo guy? He might be able to bring her back. Or why don't we use our cane pit in our fucking front yard to bring her back? What?
Hello?
Like, did you guys forget what show you wrote? Because, like, there's numerous ways to bring someone back from the dead.
Yeah.
From what I can tell.
They didn't even... And, like, the frustrating thing is, and one of the things that I originally was frustrated about is she gets to say goodbye to everybody because she knows that she's dying. None of them gets at that moment to say goodbye. And a lot of shows do this where they bring someone back so then they can have their moment to talk to the ghost or whatever and be like, farewell, I miss you and I love you. But, like, and as hokey and as cheap as that would have been...
Though. I didn't even need that.
But, like, as shitty as that could be, I would have been like, okay, at least Zelda and Hilda get to be like goodbye. Instead,
all I needed,
even that moment.
I didn't even need that because she does say her goodbyes and whatever. But all I even needed was a line that said, "We can't use our cane pit because ... We can't call on this death guy because we missed the time of it ... Like,
or we tried.
2 lines would have explained to your audience
that.
why those things couldn't have worked, and everything, in my opinion, probably would have made sense, and I would have had to be okay with how everything happened. But the fact that these easy questions are still like outstanding and you guys didn't even address them, to me, you guys are shitty writers and you guys missed the boat like fully. You guys thought about Nick wearing an air mask in fucking space, but you still couldn't answer the fact that there's a cane pit in your front yard, and why can't you bring Sabrina back?
Exactly. It just, to your point, absolutely. It was just unanswered questions for no reason. Couldn't even throw a line in there to just let us know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So, bullshit.
I'm just going to bring up some comments that, like, our audience had on Instagram. Okay, so we asked you guys on our Instagram what you guys thought about the finale. Joanne_G says, left with so many questions. Same girl, same.
Same girl.
Like, so many questions. Faye,
like a million.
Our listener Faye, oh my god, she killed me with this comment. She said, I actually enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. I cried a little, but I came on my period 10 minutes after. That would make sense why you were crying. But it was emotional. Yeah. It was definitely sad seeing her die, of course. It's just now we're left with all of these like questions that I think should have been sort of addressed so that we could have fully like sat in the moment of Sabrina's death. Julia says, really annoyed that it wasn't her and Harvey in the end. Oh.
Good point. What did you think about that ending?
Like I said, I think I still would have been okay with her seeing her mom in the end, like seeing anyone else but a romantic figure, because life, your journey as a woman should be a little bit more than just your romantic like counterpart, I feel like, in the end. And so to me, I think I would have been okay if there was no guy, and that's okay. So I get what she's saying too. I think
to your point, I mean, because they're canon or whatever, but I think to your point, it's exactly true. The show, which is always touted, like, I don't need a man, I'm a feminist, like, we are stronger together, this, and this, Me Too movement, like, it happened during the Me Too movement, and for you to be like, but I still love my boyfriend, and that's all I really want to.
Yeah, and it's
I'm like, what?
Yeah, and it's not that I don't need a man. It's I don't need a man right now. Like in this moment of her death and in her suite thereafter. Like, why? And just that's my opinion on it. Like I'm sure everyone has their own thoughts on that, but and then Julia also says Bix. Oh, I guess Nick's eyes partly open in the last kiss made me gag. And then she also says, also, I thought when you're buried in the Spellman graveyard, you come back. Exactly what we were talking about. And then she also said that I hated that Nick was her dying thought. So, see, that's interesting.
True.
Like, you know?
Yeah, because she's like, Nick, I love you. And then she dies. Like, that's like the last thing she thinks about. You're right. She doesn't think about like her coven and, her family or anyway, whatever. It is done. The show is over. Do you want to go into our recap roundups, our final recap roundups of Sabrina?
Recap roundups.
Best moment. My best moment is gonna go to, I think it's hard, like there's so much happening, but I think I'm gonna say the funeral, just because I was like in disbelief almost, and I'm like, okay, she's clearly gonna come out of the ground right now, like she's gonna come back alive. I loved Ambrose's like blue velvet like jacket. He had time to like get spiffed up, and like Roz was wearing some like next level like risque like top. It was weird. It was like I was like in disbelief, and like I don't know. It's just, but it was the ending, and that is the ending. So yeah,
that is the ending. My best moment's gonna go to that final goodbye, and I wrote down, I guess, because I as much as I was sad about it while I was watching it, and like watching the memories of her like going from small to big, and like blowing out the candles, and she's like narrating this beautiful little thing. I wish that wasn't all we got, but that was my best moment for sure.
WTF moment. I think I'm gonna say the sweet hereafter, Nick committing suicide. And also just the fact that like she's dead and like no one could bring her back. Where like the show has literally brought back every single person. Like you're telling me you guys can't bring her back? What kind of witches are you guys? Come on.
Like they still like, that's a thing, and I don't know what they were going for, and like we were saying, defending the fact that maybe they didn't know that they were getting canceled. It's one of those things where even though that was going to be the case, they could have just easily just kept her alive, just like she leave everybody alive at the end of every season. They always leave everybody alive. Everybody comes back. Everybody's happy. And as much as I would have been like, oh, that was a kind of like a cheap ending for a show, that's all we've been getting for the past 4 seasons. So you'd think that on your very final episode with your main character, you would just be like, you know what, guys, I know it's cheap, but let's just keep her alive and just be done with it. They all lived happily ever after in the end. Yeah. Like the show got canceled. I'm sorry that you guys won't get to watch any more adventures with Sabrina, but like she's alive and well, and she gets married to Nick, and everything is happy. Like I don't understand why they couldn't just do that and close the book and be done with this show, but instead they made her die, and it's just like it didn't make sense, because you're right. They could have brought everybody else back, but they can't bring the one character that actually drives the show forward, and it's just because it got canceled.
Even if they had like buried her and like at the end said, we're gonna bring her back, like, and it ended off like that, at least you know that like they're working towards bringing her back.
There was like
these guys literally gave up and made a fucking like what's it called, a statue out of her, like goodbye. They like got rid of her real quick. I don't know.
Like she didn't go to hell. Like they weren't like, we're gonna bring her back from hell. We're gonna bring her back from the hereafter. Like nothing. Literally nothing. They were like, okay, we're okay with the fact that a 17-year-old girl just sacrificed herself for an entire coven in the world. Okay, this was stupid. My WTF moment is what I mentioned before, which is the fact that no one got to say properly goodbye to Sabrina. But I wrote this down like when I first watched it, and I was trying to be as compassionate to the show, and I wrote down, I guess it's kind of how we feel about the show. It was all unexpected. But to me, this is probably one of the worst endings to a series I've probably ever seen. If this is all we're getting, it is definitely the worst series ending to me, because there was nothing about this that made me feel complete. It didn't make me feel like I was like, this is it. And I hate having that feeling. It sucks.
Yeah. Because truly, it's not about Sabrina being dead. We're okay with that. We were okay with if she had to die. just make it all make sense and make it all
make sense.
Fit. And that's all we're truly asking for. So I just think it was sloppy on their part.
Rushed and lame. Yeah.
MVP. I thought about this long and hard, and I'm gonna have to give it to Father Blackwood on my last ever MVP.
God.
This mother effer literally had his head cut off, and he still almost ruined the entire show. Like, he still almost killed Sabrina. Like, how did he get that much shit done with like a severed head? And like, you guys, a whole coven couldn't even save one witch.
Couldn't even stop one person.
The end.
Goodbye. Goodbye. That's like your blast fuck you to the show. Like, Father Blackwood, the first character, is my MVP. I'm giving my MVP to Sabrina. It feels right to give her the final MVP.
Yeah.
She did what she had to do. You're right. I think that it's one of those things where, I've been saying it for the entire time. She's just a mess. She's always said that she's a mess of a person, and then she needs to kind of end this. So I kind of saw, like, even if the show went for 10 seasons, I feel like I would have still seen Sabrina end with her death, just because I feel like she's a problematic person. They say it from the very beginning, you're half witch, half mortal, you're a problem. And they say it way more in this last season than ever. And for her dying, kind of sacrificing herself, it makes sense. And she did it for the better of the world for the first time ever, instead of being selfish and doing it for herself. So MVP, sure, why not?
LVP.
My LVP is yours, so you can take this one.
Mine is Netflix for not letting them have one more episode.
I don't think one more episode would have fixed it, though. You know what I mean?
I feel like I would have at least gotten that epilogue so I can feel like things were tied up.
If they did it that way, maybe RIS wasn't gonna do it that way, right? Like,
yeah,
they could have just pushed it, and then like we would have had another hour long full of like an Eldritch Terror.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I also wrote down the entire coven for being all about saving feminism and using magic, and all they literally did was sit there and watch her die. Like, why? I didn't understand, like, again, the way that it all ended. They could have made it seem like it was even more hopeless for them to have brought her back. Instead, they just made the coven seem like they were like weak ass losers who couldn't even get their shit together at the very end when it mattered the most. So it is what it is, but that is the show.
The best line. Best line, I'm gonna give it to Zelda during the funeral, and she says, though the two girls were separate for a time, anyone who knows our Sabrina knows they've always been one and the same.
Exactly, which is, someone should have told that to Lucifer.
So what does that really truly mean, though? Like, what just happened?
Yeah, exactly. Nothing. I don't understand. Why were you guys two people? Why did it matter that you guys were gonna have a war because of two people who were the same person?
To me, the two Sabrinas always felt like a cheap plot twist, because it always felt like one could die on screen and it would be it would be okay, because then the other one is so, like, it just felt like a crutch plot point to me.
For sure.
And I just didn't like it at all. So I was never behind that dual Sabrina idea. I just didn't. I didn't like it.
Citizenship.
She's one character. She's one special person. It should only be one Kiernan on screen. Like, that's it. You know.
Agreed. My best line is when she's talking to Salem before she goes into the mirror, and she says, "And even though people keep saying it isn't my fault, it feels like it is."
Yeah, that was sad.
It is.
Yeah.
It is your fault.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that for our final episode, I would like to take the time to thank our patrons of this episode, our Rewinder squad. We have White and Nicole, our Lit Rewinders, Tina Ann, Soleil, and Kate, and our Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah, Tamala, and Grace.
Thank you, guys. And if you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind. If you join, you'll get access to all things Recap Rewind, exclusive contests, content, and updates.
And even though the show is done, make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Make sure you guys are checking us out on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, and review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks so much for sticking through it with this series. Yeah. This is it. This is like, we don't do this very often, a series finale together from beginning to end.
Tune into our Riverdale podcast, though, real talk. It's
definitely
better
check
over
out
there.
our Riverdale podcast. It's better. It's more fun over there. We be having fun over there. But that's it, guys. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.